All right, everyone, welcome to the call. This is Steve Burton. This is a follow-up to a webinar that we did this past Monday night, and that's okay. We had some technical difficulties, so I'm redoing it. It's our retirement checkup. I'm going to go through in about 30 minutes' time with the understanding that I cannot possibly tell you everything you need to know, but I'm going to at least pique your interest, give you some insight, and hopefully motivate you guys to learn more than what you know right now. Retirement, I will tell you, you think working for 10 or 20, 30 years is hard. Try being retired if you don't have everything lined up. It's easier to get it right out of the gate than try to fix it after you've already retired. So we want to make sure heading into retirement. So I'll come back to that in a minute. You know, looking at somebody's profile and what's going on too, this, hopefully you're seeing this right here. This is a client that came in a couple years ago. This is the one we use on the Wealth Accelerator. I want to point out a couple things on this profile. Husband's income, her income, plus anyway. I'm going to use kind of a hybrid between their profile and somebody else's, but a couple of things I want to point out. A lot of people in my business, the financial services business, will not help you with a game plan for your mortgage. You need to be dealing with that because while you're making $100,000 a year, $1,800 a month mortgage payment's not a huge deal. You might even enjoy that low interest rate and the write-off on your taxes. But in retirement, unless you're doing it for a tax strategy, unless you understand the compounded growth and all those things, unless you're doing it for a financial strategy, then that $1,800 a month mortgage payment right there will chew up a Social Security check, empty a 401k account, or a number of other things. And even if you keep the mortgage in place, you cannot, for most of you, you cannot be thinking about carrying, the average American cannot be thinking about carrying this kind of debt with those kinds of monthly payments. It will hurt you. It will put you into a bad scenario. You can't be paying other people 10, 11% interest and only be earning 3 or 4% yourself. And so anyway, but we want it, and I'm not going to address the debt tonight. I'm just bringing that up to make sure that you guys know that that has to be part of the conversation. It just cannot be the money you've already accumulated. It just can't be Social Security benefits and all those things. Let me march on a little bit. I'm going to pull up my Retirement Ready or Not software. I'm going to go into some things right here. We have this program, and I ask people all the time, how well prepared, if you had to rate yourself today, where are you? Are you a 1? That would mean, hey, I'm not in very good shape. Are you a 10? Steve, I got this. All right. Some of you, wherever you're at, we want it, whether you're a 1 or a 10, we want to come in and now, start building one of these programs. My Retirement Ready or Not is on this one, I'm going to assume that the couple is of the same age. That happens. Sometimes it doesn't. I can't go through the millions or even billions or trillions of scenarios right here on everybody, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Couple, about the same age. It might be a few months off, but about 60 years old. Husband and wife. They're going to retire. They want to retire in 6 years' time. We're going to expect that they're going to live till age 90. So they're 60 years old now. They want to retire in about 6 years' time. And we have a life expectancy of maybe 90. I normally like going to 100, but I'm using their numbers. That's what they anticipated. Their current incomes between his income, her income, and, as you'll see in a minute, Joe's Navy retirement equaled about $125,000 per year. That's a target that we're going to have to look at here in just a little bit. It's been estimated, well, if he retires, Joe won't be funding they won't be funding $12,000 a year away into the retirement accounts. So projected retirement income, I don't know, $113,000. Is that what they're going to need? Will they be able to live off less? Do they still have that debt go? What are they going to do? Are they going to travel? Are they going to buy cars? Are they going to, buy a second home? I don't know how much income they're going to be, but we'll come back to that in a moment. So their income's $125,000. They've accumulated collectively in all their retirement accounts about $350,000. They also told me that they were saving about $1,000 a month. Couple warning signs right here I already see. They were going to assume about a 7% growth rate. So let me change that here really quickly. So what that means is that for the next 6 years, they're assuming that they're going to get a 7% growth rate. I said, well, what growth rate do you anticipate yourself getting in retirement? They go, well, I think the market has averaged 10. I think I read that somewhere. So I'm going to be a little conservative, and I'm going to say 7. I said, okay, very interesting. We'll come back to that in a minute. I said, how about inflation? He goes, I don't know what that is. I said, well, the government says it's about 3% per year. That's the cost of health care, groceries, gasoline, and everything else. So let's just use the government's number for now. So what other monies, what retirement incomes will they have coming in? As you can see down through here, Joe was spent 25 years in the military before he left and went in the private sector. But they're already living on this $27,000. So it's not like it's going to be a new check when Joe, in 6 years' time, walks out the other door. He's been enjoying this. It's part of his lifestyle now, so it's there. I'm assuming a cost of living adjustment of about 1%. It could be higher than that. This year on Social Security is 1.7, but I'm going to be conservative going forward because I've got a concern as to whether the government's going to be able to fulfill and keep giving those pay raises as generous as they've been in the past. His Social Security amount, $24,000 a year. Now, Jane only estimated that she's going to get about $500 a month or about $6,000 a year. Now, I see another opportunity right there, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. Well, so let's assume all these things right here right. They're 60 years old. They're going to retire in 6 years' time. They have a $350,000 saved. They're putting away $12,000 per year, $1,000 a month. They're going to assume a 7% growth rate on average year after year, some years more, some years less, but average 7%. They're going to assume that they're going to get that same rate of growth in retirement. There's their incomes down through here. And we're going to want to leave some money behind, so that desired legacy, they want to leave some money behind for the kids and grandkids. And let's assume, I don't know if that $113,000 number is right for retirement, but they got part of that through Social Security and Navy retirements. They got $57,000, so they got about half of that. So that means they're going to lean heavily on this $350,000 that they've accumulated. Let me hit calculate. Let's take a look. Let's see where they're at. For retirement purposes, if they retire at 66, right in that area, they should have over $600,000 accumulated. However, it also shows them something interesting down through here, that they're going to run out of money down here at about age 76. And now they're going to be dependent on, just reliant on that money that's coming from the military and Social Security. They've ran out of money. That's not a good sign. So what are we going to do to fix that? There are options. Well, a couple things I told them right off the bat is that, in this scenario, one, they didn't know about the survivor benefit the spousal benefit on Social Security. See right here, Joe's Social Security benefit of 24? Because they're of the same age, we figured out that Jane can be qualified to get about half of that. So instead of getting $500 a month on her own work history, she's going to be entitled to, we believe, we're going to go down to Social Security to verify that, we believe that she's going to get a spousal benefit and claim half of Joe's. So instead of getting $6,000 a year, she's going to get $12,000. And instead of $500 a month, $1,000 a month. So what does that do to their money situation? Let me recalculate it. And the money, it made it last a little bit longer down through here, but now see they're reliant just on that Social Security and other things. It gave them a couple more years. Well, I don't want to run out of money at 72 or 76 or at any age. I don't want a client to do that. So what other things could they do? Well, one, I don't think they're saving enough. I think they need to be saving and amp that up. I think if we could found, in looking at their profile, I think we found another $500 a month. So if we do that, that's another $6,000 a year, bringing that total of savings, annual savings for the next 6 years, not at $12,000 a year, but amping it up to, let's say, to $18,000 a year. What will that do to us? Well, that should make the money last a little bit longer. Going down through there, that buys them another year or two. Well, we're getting there. But now I've got some concerns, though. Those are things I can fix, and those were easy fixes. A couple concerns that I want to point out to you. See this 7% assumption rate that he assumed that he's going to earn while he's still working and then earn in retirement? That would be all good and fine if we were in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, but it's not true of the last 15 years. The last 15 years, the stock market has only averaged 3%. So if it's only averaged 3%, then what do we do for the long term? What happens if they get that number wrong? Well, let me go back and just show you. And many people already retired right now, assuming that the stock market would have performed, would have gotten back, would have done what it had done previously, are now faced with decisions that, and they're learning firsthand that it doesn't always work like that. So let me change this. Let's look at it and see what happens if it only does its 3%. We earn 3 and it keeps going 3. And you say it can't do that. It really? It caused them to run out of money at age 73, so it's bringing that timeline back. Could the market get back and provide it and start performing like it did before? Let's say it does 10. All right? Well, that would fix a lot of people's problems right now if it would just get back to normal. But I don't know what the likelihood of that. Let's say it averages 10. Well, now they're in pretty good shape till their 80s. Now they're in their 80s. So there are some things, my point in all this, there's things that you can do that you have control over. You can save more. You can get rid of the debt. You can work another year or two. You can, but the assumptions of what the stock market's going to do is a big challenge. Here's some other things that they might consider. Depending on what happens over the next 6 years or so, what happens if they decide, the downside to these benefits and Social Security, what happens if he works another couple years or so? Anytime past your full retirement age of 66, every year you wait, that Social Security benefit goes up by 8% per year. So if he waited to 70 to start claiming Social Security, if he had to, doesn't want to, but if he had to, maybe this benefit right here jumps up and now it's, I don't know, $30,000 a year because he waited a little bit. Because his is 30, let's assume that Jane's is going to be 15, that half of his. Well, what's that going to do? Well, now their situation, that would put them into better, they've worked longer, saved longer, and all that kind of good stuff. I didn't change their savings rates. Now they got money for a lot longer. I should have went back, if they're going to work to 70, assume that they're going to let their money grow a little bit longer. They're going to contribute a little bit longer. Maybe that's true. Maybe Jane retires early and Joe keeps working. There's so many scenarios. By working a few more years, now look, now they're in their 90s and they still got money. They still got money at death down through here, way past 300 some, so they've got money accumulating. So in that situation, working a few more years, what happens though? Let's go through a scenario where they don't work to 70. Let's go back and let's say they retire at 62. What's the impact of that? Well, major consequences by even retiring a year or two earlier. If in this situation we go back and they claim it at 62, a couple things. One, Jane won't be entitled to that full half of Joe's Social Security. So, and by the way, instead of Joe getting $24,000, he'll get about 25% less. Let's call it $19,000. I don't know the exact number. I haven't ran it. Let's say that Jane's back to her own benefit and she collected her benefit early. So let's say she's only getting, instead of $6,000 a year, she's going to get $4,500 a year. What's that going to do to them? Well, they quit working earlier. They haven't saved as long. Maybe they still get the 10% rate of growth. I don't know. We'll see. They're running out of money down here at age 70. Retiring even a year or so earlier would also, he's in the military in that scenario I ran right there, but if you're don't have military for health care, then you're going to be reliant. What are you going to do for health care from age 62 to 65 when Medicare kicks in? For those of you that don't know, you're eligible for Medicare on the first day of the month that you reach age 65. You also will need a Medicare supplement that you'll typically go through a private insurer and get. You'll need a Medicare Part D. Typically, a Medicare supplement and a Medicare Part D is going to cost you $160, $170 a month per person. You also, they will take a minimum of $104 a month and take it out of your Social Security check to pay for Medicare Part B. So there's things that you have to consider and know. And I would tell you, I've been studying these things for years, and I don't know how. I learn new things all the time, so I don't know how the average person has got it all figured out. taxes. I haven't even talked about the impact and threat of higher taxes, meaning if you got $350,000 or $500,000 or $3 million in your IRAs, what is that going to do? I was talking gross numbers right there, not talking about an income tax rate, so we have to worry about the taxes. That couple's options are work a little bit longer, save some more, the rate of return. But again, what happens if the stock market falls one more time, either prior to retirement or just after retirement? Guys, this seminar, this webinar right here is not meant to go through every little thing. It's meant to give you some ideas. I'm going to wrap it up here in just a second and show you something. We were going to be sending this presentation, as you're going to see, out. What you need to do is take control of your money. Do you need a retirement checkup? We sent the invitation to you about the email. We have some in-office checkups that we're doing for groups. Bring it in, come in, and we'll be doing more of those. You need to come in individually. You need to download our complete profile. See item number 3 right there? You need to get a complete detailed profile. We're going to email it to you. It's in a Word document. You can fill it out right online and email it back to us. When you going to wait? You know, if the doctor came to you and go, hey, Joe, you've got cancer. I don't want to hear it today, doc. I got busy. I got things to do. Well, some of you have a fiscal cancer, a financial, a money cancer that's brewing, debt, delusional about when and what's going to happen in your money moving forward. And some of you got it slam dunk. Some of you got it all figured out. In that case, you're just getting a second opinion to make sure that you're in great shape. You need to get that profile back to us. You need to come in for a personal meeting. We can do these webinars for you individually. We could do it in our offices, whether you're in Chesapeake or Newport News or Richmond or wherever you're at. We've got clients all over the country. We can do them for wherever you're at. Get those back to us as soon as possible. Most important part is you need to take action. You can't sit on the sideline forever. The economy is not performing well. Well, Steve, my 401k is at all-time highs. Well, if I told you you were delusional on that too, because if you subtracted out for the last 15 years your contributions, your rate of return, you'll be shocked to know, is about 3%. That's not everyone. That's the average. Stock market may have done double digits last year and the year before, but what did it do in 08? You can't just tell me the rate of return for the last couple of years and not also include how you did in 2008 or 2001 and 2002. CD rates aren't paying anything. We do have product for that as well. Guys, I'm going to wrap this webinar up. This is Steve Burton with Equity One. If we can be of help, 877-313-4080, or just respond to one of these emails and get back to us as soon as possible. Claiming strategies on Social Security, making sure you got the debt squared away, spousal benefits, life insurance, Medicare, long-term care. There's more that we need to talk to you about. Just don't have time to do it in a 30-minute webinar. Guys, it was a pleasure. Hope you got a little bit out of it. We'll be talking to you soon.